Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you guys have a good day. I am on my way to the airport now, and I am I always forget how to turn off the back windshield wiper. So stupid. I should know this by now, right? You should know this about your own car. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Give me 1 second. And we're going to have a good conversation today about some really interesting topics. How you doing, Michelle, Edward? Good afternoon, Jennifer Palmer. How are you? Good to see you. Daryl Gaines, how are you? And you guys, if you give me 1 second to get set up, I'm driving to the airport. Hey, Ro, how are you? Hey, Ro, by the way, Ro, I'm very sorry to hear about what happened with that whole crazy controversy. You didn't deserve that. And I think that it's just such a reflection of just how many people on the internet can be full of shit and totally unfair. And I just thought it was atrocious what people did to you. And I just want to make sure I let you know that. But anyway, so yeah, so what's on my mind? Veronica says you're looking good. You better quit flirting, girl. Flirting on the internet. Don't be flirting on the internet. Let's see, Carlos, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Yeah. All right. So let me get it popping right quick. Okay, so here's what's on my mind today, right? What is on my mind has to do with Kamala Harris, and people were asking me about this week, and about her, the white husband, and what that says about her as a person. And now here's the thing. I had a strong opinion about it, and I think it's a valid opinion. It's based on 47 years of experience. And and people who don't think that this is relevant or don't think that this is an important issue, you're probably not intelligent enough to be a part of conversations like this. So this conversation is probably above your pay grade. So you should probably go and talk about something stupid or whatever it is that dumb people do. Anyway, so they were asking me about Kamala Harris and her husband, right? And what I think about her being married to this white guy, and I thought this was relevant because what's true is that we have to sort of, with these politicians, because they lie so much and because they are so deceptive about who they are. The way to really understand a lot of these politicians that I have found is to really look at their background. Look at every single thing about the person. Look at who they choose to spend their life with, what they do with their spare time, how they grew up, like what their parents did for a living. Like, you can tell a lot about a person a lot of times in politics, whatever the case may be, just by reading their bio on Wikipedia. If you read their bio on Wikipedia, you can learn a lot about a person just by what they put, just by what you see in terms of how they grew up. And so in order to really try to understand Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, who are the two Negro candidates, the latest Negroes being fed to black people. Remember, these are not candidates that were selected by black people. These were candidates that were selected by the mostly white establishment, and they were fed to black people as our solution. We're always being fed a messiah by the system. The last messiah, the original Cory Booker, the original Kamala Harris, was a guy by the name of Barack Obama. And he's basically this guy who's racially ambiguous, culturally ambiguous. He was a beautiful candidate, and a wonderful Manchurian candidate, because he pretty much became whatever you wanted him to be. So if you are black and you're looking for Superman, well, Barack Obama was a perfect Superman. He did the really cool flashy pictures in Essence magazine where he's getting out of the limo with the sunglasses on, and it made him sexy and cool, and all the women like, my God, I want to have his baby. You know, and white people, you know, white people were comfortable with him because he was, you know, very non-threatening. He wasn't just non-threatening. He's a white guy, right? I mean, you don't get any whiter than that, right? Where you can say, hey, I can relate to you too, because my mom's white, just like you. My parents, you know, my grandparents were two regular white people in Kansas, and that makes me, you know, just a wonderful choice for you because I'm white just like you. So Barack was an awesome candidate because he was an awesome chameleon. And, you know, and so I think that anybody who understood, who sort of analyzed the Obama presidency, which of course I did, you know, extensively, could see how this guy was extraordinary in his ability to make so many different kinds of people believe that they had a genuine connection to him. And the unfortunate problem that a Barack Obama or anybody has to run into is that our political system is so dysfunctional that you damn near have to be a motherfucking sociopath to get that much political support in a nation that is so divided. I mean, you literally have to be a sociopath in the sense that, you know, a sociopath does not really form legitimate, meaningful connections with anybody. The sociopath just forms enough of a connection to get what he wants out of you so he can move on to the next one. It's like on to the next one, on to the next one. And so, you know, so the interesting thing about the Obama presidency, and this leads to Kamala Harris, is that it created the blueprint for black political success, you know, in terms of, okay, this is what we need. We need Obama 2.0. This is what black people will support. This is what will not scare white people. This is what will get us into the White House. This is what we're going with. The other side of it, though, is that, you know, people built an immunity to the Barack Obama game plan, right? So not only did they build an immunity to the Barack Obama game plan, where they were sort of like, look, you fooled us the first time, you ain't gonna fool us again. You know, you gave us bullshit the first time and we thought it was chocolate cake, but now we know what bullshit tastes like, and we know to sniff the cake before we take a big bite of it. And so you've got the skeptics out there, but even the people that love Obama, even the people that have no criticism of Obama, those who think Obama was the greatest president in the history of the world, that he was, you know, white Jesus on roller skates, even the people that love Barack Obama, wanted to have his baby, wanted to be his best friend, thought he's the greatest guy in the world, even they are not as likely to go support the Democrats because Obama for them was a drug. And the thing about a drug is that once you get that ultimate high from the drug, it's hard to match that high. Right? You can only match the high from a new drug by giving a person a stronger dosage of the drug, right? You can't give them a lower dosage of the same drug and get the same high, right? Because the high is what drives black people to vote. Black people don't vote typically for logical reasons in terms of what we're encouraged to do. We're not encouraged to vote for logical reasons. We're not encouraged to vote based on policy, but we're not encouraged to vote based on politicians proving that they deserve our vote. We're encouraged to vote out of emotion. It must be either fear or some sort of fear or fantasy or peer pressure or whatever. But it's rarely built on anything logical because these politicians understand, just like consumer marketing, just like consumer marketers, corporations understand that customers don't buy based on logic. They buy based on emotion. So when they are selling you a candidate, they're not selling based on logic. They're selling based on emotion. So emotion is driven by a high that comes from the release of these endorphins and these other neurochemicals in our brain that's similar to what you get when you take a hit of cocaine. So Barack Obama was crack for black people. You know, like we weren't black people, we were crack people. Because literally Barack Obama was walking crack cocaine for black people who were looking for the white Jesus Messiah savior that was gonna somehow make everything better, which obviously, you know, if you look at the data, it didn't happen, right? And it's fine. I mean, that's not something that just happens with black people. It happens with a lot of people. That's why our political system's so screwed up. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting to. So when you follow up, again, to throw the skeptics out. I'm a skeptic. Fuck me. Fuck what I think. Who gives a fuck about Boyce Watkins? He don't matter. Let's talk about the people that love Barack Obama. The problem the Democratic Party has is that even the people who love Barack Obama are not going to be excited about Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. Why? Well, because you're giving them the same drug at a lower dosage. You're giving them the exact same shit, the exact same multiracial, multicultural, plaid-colored Negro, but you're giving them a less interesting, less exciting version of that Negro. Right? So Cory Booker, he's not another Barack Obama, right? He's not as smooth, he's not as interesting, he doesn't know how, he's not as much of a chameleon, he can't change his swag when he walks in a room full of black people. Kamala Harris, she's like Indian and Jamaican, and the people are already really questioning everything about this lady, for good reason. I mean, if you look at her history as a prosecutor, you can see that she's trying to be everything to everybody, but it ain't gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work for her. So that's the Democratic Party's problem, is that Kamala and Cory are not going to generate the same level of excitement amongst anybody that Barack Obama did. And Barack Obama, I think that even he was feeling pressure and frustration because when the midterm elections came, black people were like, I'm not voting in that shit. I don't care about no midterm elections. They were bored with it. Well, why were they bored? Well, because they weren't as excited as they were in 2008 and 2012. And so remember when Barack came out, they threw Barack out there they were like, we need you to go out there and corral the Negroes. We need you to get them excited again. And so Barack is out saying things like, it's an insult to my legacy if you do not show up at the midterm elections. You are disrespecting everything that we've accomplished. Like dumb shit. Just this shit that people are like, yeah, whatever, man. Just shut up. So Cory Booker and Kamala Harris can't capture the magic. And the thing about it, the reason that it's so unfortunate, for them, I believe, and formulaically incorrect, is because, I think a lot of people would support a Cory Booker and a Kamala Harris if there had been more substance in the Obama presidency. If there had been more substance, then you wouldn't need to sort of present the candidate as a drug. They wouldn't have to be walking crack cocaine, where we all go vote based on emotionality. You could literally point to Obama's record and say, look at all these great things that happened for black people. Look at all these wonderful advances we made for the black community. So, if this guy can do it in 8 years, then imagine what another 8 years of a Cory Booker could do. With Cory Booker following the exact same formula that Barack Obama followed, that will be more compelling for black people. Now, logically, that makes sense in terms of what would get black people to support them, but it's illogical for the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is a party that must operate in a racist society. And in this racist society, candidates and parties are punished by showing any sort of allegiance or any sort of concern for the African American community. Any candidate who comes out and says, we've wronged African Americans, we need to make things right, we need to allocate at least, $500 billion to fixing a lot of this shit that we screwed up, we're going to do it now. Any candidate who says that is not going to get political support. So, while I can point out this conundrum, it's easier for me to point out the problem than it is to solve the problem. In fact, again, I'm a mathematician, and I can tell you that not only is this problem hard to solve, I see it as an unsolvable problem, because in America, you have a racial divide that cannot be bridged at this particular point in time, because people are just too far apart in terms of how they see race in America. They're too far apart. They're taught different ideas. They believe different things. They have different sets of information, to the point where white people are looking at the universe in one light and we're looking at it in a different light. Now, let me get to Kamala Harris and this thing with her white husband. Now, here's the thing. Okay, so Kamala, somebody asked me about Kamala's white husband, and I was like, yeah, well, I kind of think it's sort of like, just like Nick Cannon said that he sees a white woman as a sign of success. Well, I mean, black men ain't the only ones who see that. I mean, there are a lot of black women who see the white man marrying a white guy as a sign of success. If you look at Cory Booker and Kamala Harris's bios, and you look at them very carefully, what you'll notice, which is kind of common amongst the black elite, the Negro elite, is you see piles and piles and piles of ambition. You see tons, I mean, just gallons of ambition. And it's so admirable. Both of them, top students, hardworking people, high achievers on every level. To some extent, they represent you know, an old-fashioned version of black excellence. They represent black excellence in the civil rights tradition. Black excellence in the civil rights tradition looked like this. Here's what it looked like. I know it very well because I too was on the black excellence train until I realized it wasn't going to work. So when I was on the black excellence train, here's what I thought black excellence looked like. Black excellence looked like this. It said, I'm going to go to school and make good grades and get high SAT scores so that I can get into Stanford, Harvard, Yale, wherever, and go there, and I'm gonna be valedictorian or some shit, and then I'm gonna graduate, and I'm either gonna get a great job at some big, you know, fancy corporation, or I'm gonna go to graduate school, like maybe Harvard Law School. I'm gonna be the president of the Harvard Law Review, and then I'm gonna go get a job at a big white law firm where I'm the only black lawyer within an 800-mile radius, and I'm going to then drive a Mercedes, live in some bougie ass neighborhood, and maybe have all these fancy political connections that come with being like the only Negro in the room, right? That is the old school civil rights based assimilationist, integrationist, you know, multicultural diversity model of black success in America. And the thing that I know about this model, here's what I understand about this model, is that it does not work for the masses. This model does not work for the masses. It works for a couple of people. It becomes like the Hunger Games. If you recall in the film The Hunger Games, excuse me, all it was a white people's version of what black people go through in America. Basically, they take a few people who are poor, they give them an opportunity to become a part of the elite, and then they parade the elite Negroes. They weren't Negroes, but that's pretty much what they were. They parade these elite people to the poor as a sign of success. And so that's what happens. We get our Negro elites, we parade them on television, and it says to the masses, look, if you just play the game, if you just support the system, if you just behave, if you just go along with the protocol, then one day you too might have an opportunity to be an elite Negro. And that's okay, but the problem is that they sell more tickets than there are seats in the building. They sell out the building. They have 100 seats in the building, but they're selling 20,000 tickets. If that makes sense. There's not enough room in white institutions for all black people to truly get an opportunity to be among the black elite. There's not enough spaces at Harvard University for every black person in America. There's not enough, there's not enough positions, affirmative action spots at major white law firms for every black person in America to have a job. There's not enough opportunities for every black person in America to be a Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or Barack Obama. So you have a few black people that get these opportunities, and these are the individuals that are pretty much responsible for corralling the black masses to support the Democratic Party agenda. Okay, now with that said, where does Kamala Harris's white husband kind of fit into this? Well, the thing about Kamala Harris's ambition is that, is that there is a prototype of black woman, of successful black woman, that is more likely to marry a white guy. It does not mean she does not love her husband. It does not mean he's not a good guy. It does not mean that he's not her homeboy, her soulmate, and everything else that a husband is supposed to be to a partner. But it's not a coincidence that, given that elite people tend to marry other elite people, it's not a coincidence that this man happens to be a high-powered lawyer that helped her elevate to certain, positions within white racist American society, right? They are a power couple. And when a woman picks a husband, or an ambitious woman picks a husband, or an ambitious man picks a wife, a lot of times, they will check the resume. They'll check the resume. Like in Scandal, there's a reason why in the show Scandal, Kerry Washington's character was fucking a white guy who happened to be the president of the United States. She was not fucking a random white guy. She wasn't fucking the white guy who works at Burger King. She wasn't fucking the white guy who picked up her trash every morning. She wasn't fucking the pool boy. She happened to be fucking the president of the United States. Now, had he not been the president of the United States, his pussy possibilities would have dropped from, 100% to maybe 2%, maybe 10%. Because maybe she just likes white guys. Maybe she likes whatever white guys got going on in the bedroom. Maybe that's her preference. Fine. But the fact that he was president of the United States should not be lost in the whole discussion and analysis of, well, how does she end up with him as opposed to him, right? So the same way, guys pick out attractive women, women pick out what they perceive to be attractive men. The man who's the high-powered lawyer with $10 million in the bank is going to look a lot different to a lot of women than the guy who works at Burger King who's got a bus pass. Now, moving on. So with Kamala Harris, when you look at that marriage, I'm not one to say that being married to a white guy revokes your black card. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is who you choose as your soulmate says something about who you are as a person. Let me explain. The types of women that I've known in my life, the types of women I tend to be attracted to, the types of women I've gotten to know, tend to be women that have a strong black identity. So for example, I think about the woman that I'm with, the woman that I love. If I went to her and said, you're a pretty lady. There are white guys that hit on you all the time. Some of them are high-powered attorneys. Some of them could do a lot for you that maybe I couldn't even do as a black man. Shit, white people hate me. They fire me on my day off, right? But I'm a radical big mouth Negro. I'm gonna get you in trouble. So why would you want to be with me? Why don't you go get you a white guy, who works at a fancy law firm, who makes, a lot more money maybe, or has, parents that are billionaires. That could probably help you advance a lot further in your career than being with little old me, right? She would say this. She would say what a lot of black women would say, black women who are probably listening right now. Tell me if you agree. If you're in this category, tell me if you agree. Here's what she would say. She would say, yeah, white guys hit on me all the time, but I just can't do it. She said, I just can't. Like she would just, she go, I just can't do it. Like, I can't. Like, and I don't think he can understand me. He can't understand my struggle as a black woman. He doesn't understand what I go through. Like, I can't come home and talk to him about my experiences. Tell me if I'm right. Am I right or am I right? There are women out there who literally cringe at the idea of being married to a white guy. Now, they might look at a white guy and be like, okay, he's all right. Or they might look at, like, what's the guy, not Robin Thicke. I don't know if it's Robin Thicke or if he's the son, Alan Thicke, Robin Thicke. I don't know which one's the father, which one's the, you know what I'm talking about. Like, those white guys that got a little bit of swag, they might look at them and be kind of like, okay, he's all right. But then when it gets to the point where they're literally thinking, like, who would I want to spend the rest of my life with? Whose penis do I want in my vagina every single night for the next 45 years? That's when they start saying, I don't know if I can do that, right? And what does that say? Does that mean that, that there's something wrong if you're not in that category? No. What it means is that there's something about your black identity that really runs to the core. That runs to the core of your soul and the core of who you are and the core of your very being, right? And one of the things that we can clearly say in terms of evidence, in terms of figuring out who Kamala Harris really is that she ain't that woman. She's not that woman. She's a good woman, I'm sure. She's a smart woman, no question. But she ain't that woman who says that being black is so important to me that when it comes to the most important decision of my life, in terms of who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, who I want next to me on my deathbed, who I'm going to talk to every single night for the rest of my life, have sex with every night, who I'm going to bring home to my family, it's got to be a brother. It's got to be a brother, right? And if you think that shit don't matter, then you should probably not watch any more of this podcast, because I'm probably going to hurt your feelings. If you don't understand where I'm coming from, then you will never understand, because you have not lived the life I have lived as a black man. And that's where these things start to matter, right? That's where these things start to matter. That's why, like, the background of these politicians plays such a huge part in how we should perceive them, because if you ain't lived it, then you don't know it. If you ain't really lived through the challenges of being black, the ups and the downs, the struggle and the agony, just the tough, difficult, lonely nights of being black in America, then you will never understand. You'll never get it, right? And that's the reason why there are some black women who just cannot marry a white guy, because they're like, you don't understand what I've gone through, and I don't feel like spending the next 30 years explaining that to you. So I can be your friend, I can be your neighbor, we can be best buddies, maybe we can even date for a while and hang out and have fun, but I can't make you my soulmate because you don't understand my soul. You know, you can't be my soulmate because you ain't got enough soul to match souls with me, right? And I understand this as well because I am the male version of that. I'm the male version of that. And I can't explain this to white people without them thinking that I'm trying to be racist or hateful. But it's like, no, I can't marry a woman who's not black. I just can't. I can't. I've been hit on by Becky before. I've had white women, you know, throw themselves at me in certain situations. And literally, it goes right over my head. I totally miss it. It zips right past me because I've never even been able to perceive a white woman as a dating option. Not because I hate them, but because, well, two reasons. One, they just don't appeal to me the way a black woman does. But then two, it's like, what would we do? Like, how's this going to work? Like, this is a square peg in a round hole. I don't even see. Do you even know what you'd be getting into by trying to be with a man like me? And I sure as hell don't want to know what I'd be getting into by dealing with you and your family and all the other stuff that comes with this shit. No, I can't do it. You know, and also the other thing is, I've always felt as a black man that who you choose to marry, I mean, that's the greatest gift I can give to a woman is the rest of my life. Like, the most valuable thing I own is my life, pretty much, right? And if I'm gonna give something that valuable away to another human being, it better be a sister. It better be a black woman. Like, I can't, I'm not gonna. Why am I gonna run around here working all hard trying to build black wealth, talking about legacy and all this stuff, and I'm just gonna go give it all away to the other team? Like, that doesn't even make no sense. You know, so I think that Kamala Harris, her choice in marrying a white guy, it doesn't make her a bad person. It just says something about where her absolute core values lie. In terms of who she is at the very core, at the very depths of her soul. In fact, if you really want to think about it like this. You know, Kamala is an ambitious person. She believes deeply in things like, you know, high levels of education. She has plenty of education. She's a hard worker. She's, you know, I'm sure she loves her family. She loves her country because she wants to be president of the United States. She's very patriotic, I'm sure. So in a way, you know, who we choose to marry, me saying I will definitely marry a black woman, like no white women need not apply, is almost like me connecting with you and explaining to you what matters to me at the very depths of my being. Almost the same way for Kamala Harris, things like education matter to her at a deep level. The law matters to her at a deep level. I'm sure she'd rather damn near die than to violate attorney-client privilege, because being a good lawyer, I'm sure, is very important to her at the core of her soul. So if you went to Kamala and said, hey, you know, I'll give you $10 million to be a bad lawyer and to get disbarred, she'd probably say no, right? Or if you said, hey, Kamala, I'll give you $10 million to not educate your children, she'd probably say no, because education is important to us as a value. Well, the thing is, we know that being married to a black man is not important enough to her that she wouldn't trade that if she meets a better white guy. So I'm not saying that she couldn't have married a black man. Maybe she could have. You know, she went to Howard. I'm sure she met, or whichever HBCU she went to. I think it's Howard University. You know, I'm sure she met lots of great black guys there, but she met a white guy who was better than all the black guys that she met. And so for her, race was not enough of a deal breaker that, you know, it kept her from saying, I'm going to marry him instead of, you know, Tyrone. Right? So again, it's all a matter of sort of figuring out for people, what are their deal breakers? Like, what are the core values that they have that they will not let go of no matter what? Like, I know sisters that literally will be single for the rest of their life if they don't meet a black man that they want to marry. I know men, like, I'm the same way. If I was to never meet a black woman I'm going to marry, I would just be single for the rest of my life. You know, that's it. You know, I wouldn't marry a white woman. I wouldn't go date a man. Like, those are deal breakers for no. I'm not going to date a man no matter what, no matter how much money you gave me, no matter how handsome he was. Like, that's not that's not even in the cards for me. So for some people though, it's like they have these ideals that are very rigid. And then for other people, those same ideals might be very flexible, where it says, yeah, that's kind of my general preference, but I can change it depending on the situation. Whereas some people are like, no, that's just never going to change because that's just who I am. Let's go deeper than that. Okay, so speaking on Kamala Harris and this white husband thing, and I got, you know, a lot of people had a lot to say about it. I said something about it on my Twitter. If you want to go see the uproar, I don't even read most of the comments on Twitter, to be honest with you. But I made a comment about it. It got 15,000 responses. So maybe some prominent liberal, maybe Mark Lamont Hill or somebody, talk shit about me, and that's what caused all the crazy white people to come to my Twitter account, which is fine. I don't care. I discount all of that stuff. But anyway, you know, one other thought about this is this. Look, I was talking to a friend of mine, right, about my experience in academia. And I said, you know, I talked to her about this guy that she works with. She's a black woman, and she's a light-skinned black woman. She's in that category, like colorism is real. Educated black women with lighter skin tend to have an easier time, you know, sort of navigating the spaces of, say, corporate America than, say, a dark-skinned big black man would, right? You know, like, so there's a reason, for example, that you know, what was it, Barack Obama just had an event, and it just happens that he's co-hosting the event with John Legend and Steph Curry. It's not a coincidence that all three of those men are light-skinned black men. In fact, it's not a coincidence that all three of those men are light-skinned, considered safe, multicultural, if you will. You throw in Kamala Harris, you throw in Cory Booker. If any of those people were as dark as Wesley Snipes, the deal would be off. None of those people are dark-skinned, and it's not a coincidence, right? So anyway, so I was talking to this sister who happened to be a light-skinned black woman, and she was, you know, in good standing on her job, and the white folks liked her. The white people were pretty much, you know, cool with her. Like, they were like, oh, you're so great, you do a good job, we like working with you, blah, blah, blah. Well, check it out. So at the same time, she had a colleague who was a black man, and the black man was running into a lot of the same problems a lot of black males run into. At this university they teach at, there's only one black male professor on the entire campus. So he's literally surrounded by nothing but white people or people that don't look like him, and none of them understand him. So he's always at war. He's always fighting them, always going through shit with them. Great scholar, but he's got too much Boyce Watkins in him, which is going to cause him problems, just like it caused me problems in academia. And one thing she told me was, she said, you know, I stood with him when he was going through one of his controversies, and all I did was serve as a witness to support him when a student tried to complain and get him fired. And she said, and after that, they started treating me bad, like I was the enemy, like I had done something wrong, right? And, you know, so suddenly her evaluation started changing. Suddenly they started treating her different. They started taking resources away, stuff like that. And I said, you know, I said, first of all, the reason that they did this to you is because you were standing with a black man that they wanted to attack and isolate and destroy. I said, so, you know, but that's to be expected. So you've been associated with him, which takes away your good nigga sticker. You don't have the good nigga sticker anymore. I said, but also what it speaks to is, it speaks to the kind of black woman you are. I said, you're the kind of black woman that has served as the backbone of the black community since slavery. You're the type of black woman that the black man had to depend on when he was fighting with Massa on the plantation 250 years ago. Like, you were the one who might, you know, because you were maybe, you know, a high yellow or whatever, and could sit next to Massa, sit on his lap or whatever, you chose to stand with the black man, which makes you different from some women. I said, because a lot of women in your position have the ability to choose. They can go in either direction. I said, and I gave her an example. I said, for example, when I was at Syracuse, I was in the same situation. I came in same year with another woman who was biracial. She was black, but not black. Like, her dad was white, her mom was black, something like that. And I said, when she saw that I was the radical Negro, when she saw that I was getting in these fights, she didn't do what you did. She didn't come and say, black man, I got your back. She ran the other direction and said, I'm going to stay as far away from that Negro as possible because he's going to get all of us in trouble, right? And I said, so really, I said, when I think about you and I think about her, I see two different types of women. I see two women that easily could have gone in either direction, but you chose to come in the direction of the black man, which unfortunately is a burden on you because you're kind of fighting for the losing team. But it takes a type of strength to fight for the losing team, right? It's easy to go fight for the winning team. So when you see you see like a Kamala Harris, Kamala could go either way, right? She could have a black man next to her and deal with that bullshit, or she could have a white man next to her and get all the benefits, right? And so a lot of times, and I can't speak to Kamala specifically because I don't know her as a person, but a lot of times the choice, the direction you go is a reflection not just of who you are at the core, but it's a reflection of which battles you're willing to choose. Which battles are you willing to choose? And I know women, I know strong, these are the types of women that I just love, that I roll with, that I just respect, like, you know, a Vicky Dillard type of person, or a Noma Langham with Shally Moses and people like that, where I've heard women like this say, you know, I don't care what it costs me. I don't care how much money I lose. I don't care how much favor I lose. I don't care how many jobs I can't get. I don't care how much poverty I got to endure. You know, Noma Langham straight up said it at the All Black National Convention. I remember she said something like, she said, I'd rather be sitting on the side of the road selling tomatoes with a black man than to be sitting with a white man on my arm living in a lap of luxury. And when she said that, I said, it almost brought tears to my eyes because it made me think about what I really love and respect about the black women that really have the back of the community to the core of their soul. It also speaks to why I believe that we as black men have to be incredibly diligent in speaking out when these women are disrespected. When you have men that just, you know, talk down on these women, abuse these women, or don't give these women the respect they deserve, it's up to us to protect these women because they really are our national treasure. So anyway, so you know, a lot of times we have a choice. We really have a choice. You know, which battle are you willing to fight? Some people, you know, don't want to fight the battle. It's okay. I mean, shit, who wants to fucking be black if you ain't gotta be? Like, if you were raised, sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes being raised in a way where you believe you don't really have to be that black if you don't want to, and you can be comfortable being in any space and taking on any issue. Why not pick the issues that already have popular support? Why not go out and just become an environmentalist? Why not go out and fight for immigration? Because everybody's fighting for immigration. Why not go fight for LGBT bullshit? Whatever the fuck. Like why not do that shit instead of taking on something like, you know, like rights for the African American community or economic strength for the black community? That's literally a 100-year project. It's not going to be completed until we're dead. You know, there aren't a lot of resources to work with. It's 100 times harder. You got to deal with a bunch of crazy Negroes who literally act like crabs in a barrel. I mean, I don't blame people that don't want to fight in the same struggle we fight in. But what I do know also is that the people who take on that battle, the people who commit to that struggle, are the strongest among us. They're the strongest among us because they are 100% abundantly crystal clear on exactly who the hell they are. And they're willing to fight this battle until the death. And those are the people that are going to actually plant the seeds for a great future for the black community. Kamala Harris is not, based on my opinion, based on my analysis, based on what I've studied, what I've read, she is not that woman. Now, again, but if you are a card-carrying liberal and you believe in all the liberal talking points, immigration and LGBT, I mean, they kind of all say the same stuff, then yeah, maybe she's your woman. Like, I'm sure she's gonna really, like, if I'm a feminist, I'm excited about Kamala Harris because shit, she's gonna do a lot for white women, right? But is the black community gonna be transformed on any significant level due to the election of a Kamala Harris or a Cory Booker? The answer is absolutely not. There's not going to be any change, you know, of significance in the black community. So I think we got to look somewhere else. Now, again, I want to make this last point really, really clear. I am not trying to say that I think that, that being married to a white guy takes away your black card. I want to make that 100% clear. I know black people who marry people outside their race, and I think it's fine. I have people in my own family, who marry white people, and when if I have a relative who says, "Oh, here's my white husband," or "Here's my, white wife or white girlfriend," or whatever, I don't walk up and say, "Oh my God, you're white. Like I can't trust you. I don't like you." I just say, "Okay, well, let me see what kind of person they are, and if you're a good person, then I don't care what race you are." But in the broader political spectrum, when you're talking about something like a presidential candidate, it's important to look at every single decision a person has made in order to determine who they really are at the core, because they will never tell you really truly who they are. What you got to do is you got to look at areas in their past, in their history, where they had to draw a line in the sand and say which side of that line did they line up on. Which decision did they make? Why did they pick that university over this university? Why did they pick this job over that one? Why did they pick this profession over that profession? What did their parents do? What were they being told when they grew up in their home? What shaped the values of who they are in terms of what they're willing to fight for? For example, the way I figured out, I don't know if you guys remember, Elena Kagan was Obama's nominee for the Supreme Court. It pissed me off because he could have nominated a black woman, which he should have nominated a black woman. A black woman's never been on the Supreme Court. But we've had tons of Jews, tons of Jewish people on the Supreme Court. Obama nominated a Jewish person. There's thousands of qualified black women all across the United States. Obama did not nominate a black woman. But again, for some reason, people think I'm being mean when I bring this up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, Elena Kagan was nominated for the Supreme Court. And I remember I was trying to figure out who Kagan was as a person. And I figured out that she's gay. And the way I figured out that she was gay was, she looks like the softball coach. Like she looks like remember Bill Cosby's that lady that accused Bill Cosby, what's her name? I forgot her name, but Andrea Constand or whatever. Like she kind of had that kind of like dudeish look. But then also I looked at her background, right? And the thing is that I knew that if she was planning on one day trying to become a Supreme Court justice, she was probably very cautious at every step in her career, never to take on any controversy that might reveal her political disposition. The only time she took on controversy, the only time she took a stand was when she banned the military from recruiting on Harvard University's campus because of their don't ask, don't tell policy against the gay community. The only time she took a controversial position was on an issue related to gay rights. And that's when I said, okay, she's gay because she's taking a strong stand because this is personal to her. This is real to her. So that's how you can kind of tell where a politician stands. So, how do I feel about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate? She's about the same as everybody else. I don't think she's any better or any worse than the Cory Bookers or anybody. Bernie Sanders, he's fine or whatever. I don't care. None of this stuff really excites me, but I think it's interesting to talk about it just because I like to analyze things, and I also like to teach. So that's probably why you see me talking about it, not because I really think this election is going to make a difference for black people. I truly just don't believe it will. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking before I lose my voice. If you live in Birmingham, I'm giving a speech in Birmingham this week at the A.G. Gaston Conference. So if you look up, I think it's aggastonconference.biz, you can actually check out and get tickets and come out. Angela Rye will be there, which should be interesting. I hope Angela doesn't pick on me or anything. She's kind of mean, but I'm not going to say anything to her. I'm going to be very polite because they're paying me to be there, and I'm honored to be a part of their event. So anyway, take care, everybody, and I will see you soon, and you guys have a great day.